Hey, I'm Mike.
Hey, I'm Ethan.
I watched the first half of Pinocchio's Revenge.
I watched the second half of Pinocchio's Revenge.
And this is the other half. I am at fault.
Yeah?
I'm at fault because I thought this was going to be another horror movie. So I was talking to Ethan. I was like, we got to watch this horror movie that's centered around Pinocchio.
You made us swap out another movie that, to be fair, you didn't like.
I didn't like. I watched the first 10 minutes of it and I was like, I don't want to continue watching
anymore,
this
so
movie.
we're going to swap it out with another horror movie. We could have swapped out with any movie.
Any movie. That's the problem. We could have swapped it out with any movie. We didn't need to watch this movie.
The Wooden Man calls to us.
And I was like, a Pinocchio movie that we haven't seen? We gotta see it.
We gotta watch a horror
with
Pinocchio
Vern
movie.
Troyer as Pinocchio and nobody else recognizable
No
in
one
the
else
movie.
recognizable.
Yeah.
That's who voiced him?
Pretty sure he's the guy in the costume.
Oh my god.
Because Pinocchio's a little doll.
He
you know?
barely fucking moves. They must have barely paid Vern Troyer because he barely moves.
I know
in
Vern
my
Troyer
house.
is in the movie, but yeah, maybe he's just barely in the movie as like they need him at some point when Pinocchio. I don't even. So in my half the movie, Pinocchio doesn't even talk. He's just a doll that moves around creepily sometimes.
They really were like, this motherfucker can't move in a convincible way. We're really gonna try to milk this for as much as we can.
They really hold the fuck off on Pinocchio in my
yeah,
half
they
movie.
really do.
Nothing. It's like similar to I think like Chucky, where like even in Chucky the movie opens with like the serial killer getting transformed into a doll or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
In this movie, I mean, I guess it kind of opens in a bombastic way, but like most of the film, you're like, I don't know, like it's probably just a doll. You only know it's probably evil from the poster art.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but I think that's actually kind of the interesting thing about this movie is that most of the time the movie's playing with like, is the little girl insane?
Yeah.
And is it because the doll is here, or is the doll actually like straight up evil?
Causing
and I think
it, yeah.
what's kind of interesting is even at the end of the movie, you don't really know.
Really?
Yeah.
The other thing about the movie too that I find interesting, as Pinocchio aficionados,
Absolutely.
is I think the movie's also dealing a lot with the idea of like guilty and innocent.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the big thing about Pinocchio is like a little boy who wants to be a real boy. In order to be a real boy, he has to be a good boy. And the idea of learning right from wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And the protagonist of the movie is a lawyer working at she's a public defender.
Yeah.
So she admits that she gets like people who are not innocent back on the street. Like that is her job, is to take people who have committed a crime and put them back on the streets, because that's like her work. And it's like that is showing that the world that we are in now is very against the world that the original Pinocchio movie was trying to establish, which is, you need to learn right from wrong. If you do wrong, there'll be consequences to, acting up and all that stuff. I just found that kind of interesting. Is this idea, of like, you can lie. You can be a bad person. You can
get out of there and you
get
can
away
get
with
out
it.
and be fine.
You don't need a conscience anymore, I just sort of found, I don't know, the movie's doing some interesting things here.
It really is for a movie.
There's a little bit of thought put into it.
That's the thing is this movie has some juice. Just a little bit. It's not a very small, low budget juice. It's got some juice though. It's got some ideas.
More so than any other movie, I feel like, that is like, let's have a fucking killer Pinocchio doll,
Yeah, like that's what I was expecting. I was like, this is gonna be the worst movie you've ever seen. I'm like, I don't know. It's actually, it's kind of charming in a weird way.
It's all right.
It's not bad.
It's not the worst movie I've ever seen.
No, I mean, it's definitely got some moments that are like, all right. Come on, guys.
There's definitely some moments.
But it's working. It's doing
There's
something.
some good stuff.
Someone had an idea, and they're like, we can make some interesting parallels with the real world.
Also, a little kid, what's her name? Beth?
Zoe.
She's great.
She's really good.
She's really good in this movie.
Yeah.
She's like believable.
I was going to say, I didn't look up her actor to see if she did anything else.
I don't think she's been in it much else.
Because honestly, she was really good.
Like, she's like incredible. She's like acting. She's like emoting. She's better than most adult actors.
Even in this movie.
She's better than the fucking nanny or whatever that's in the movie. The French nanny, whatever the fuck. Sophia,
Apparently she's a singer now.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
Well, good for her.
Yeah.
Oh my God, is she Chapel Roan?
No. that'd be fucking crazy. Also, she's too old.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's crazy. What the fuck? She was in a Goofy movie? No way.
She was in a Goofy movie?
That's what this.
Who did she play in? Oh, she probably played the little girl in a Goofy movie.
Oh,
the one that got her photo taken or something.
Oh, you might be right. I'm trying to look up her. Wow, she was in some
bangers,
some random, not bangers, but stuff. She's in the Mugen video game? No fucking way. Why?
God. All right, get off her fucking IMDb.
Photo Studio Girl. That's who she was in Cookie Movie. That's her credit.
Oh, so she was a little baby?
I guess so.
Yeah. Either way, she's great in this movie. I loved her in this. Everyone's pretty good. The mom is really good. Who else? I think that's pretty much it. The nanny is a strange choice. The weird French nanny.
Is she French? I couldn't pin down her accent.
I don't know what her accent is.
I think she's supposed to be Italian.
Oh, is she Italian?
I think she is.
Oh, like Pinocchio.
Exactly, because she does bring up the Pinocchio fable.
Oh, does she?
A little bit.
Oh, this reminds me of my homeland.
Kinda, yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well, maybe she is Italian then. I couldn't pin her accent down.
All I know is she's trying to get like her green card or whatever, some work visa. Work visa. Yeah.
Yeah. There's only one reason that she's in this movie, and it's because she's willing to do full frontal nudity in my half of the film.
Oh. Okay.
And because at first I was like, oh wow, she's okay, you know. I'm like, I don't know why she's here though, and then it's like, oh, she's naked? The only. Because she's showering, Ethan.
Oh, okay. So she's doing a normal thing.
She's gonna shower in her clothes? What are you, crazy? No, she's showering.
Mike, you're right. I'm sorry, I forget. Every time someone showers, you gotta show them titties off.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like it comes out of nowhere, and then so she's showering, and then she walks out of the shower, and Pinocchio's there watching her.
He's like, something's growing long.
Yeah, that's literally the scene, man.
Oh my God.
Like it's literally that. All right, movie opens in Tampa, Florida, the worst possible place to live.
Oh no! Ugh.
5 years ago, and it's raining, and we see a person.
Mike, this is in bad taste. We gotta take this.
I'm aware. I'm aware. As I was watching this movie, depending on when this episode comes out, there is a horrible hurricane that is hitting Florida currently.
Yeah.
As we record this, and yes, I was watching the movie. I was like, wow, a horrible storm in Florida. What a surprise. But this was 5 years ago, so don't worry about it.
Oh, okay.
A person is digging a hole.
5 years ago?
This is what it said. It says 5 years ago.
Oh, okay. So from our current time. Got it.
That's what it says.
All right, makes sense.
We are introduced to a man named Vincent Gatto.
Yes.
Vincent Gatto.
Mm-hmm. He's a bad guy.
He's dead by your half of the movie.
Is he?
Yeah. He's put to death in my half of the movie.
I must be thinking about someone else. Okay, I thought it must have been him. Okay.
Vincent Gatto. He is digging a hole, and he's about to toss a lifeless little boy into the hole. And he seems very upset that he has to do it. Like you
mean a dead boy?
Sure, dead. Lifeless, dead.
For some reason, lifeless. It made me feel like it was Pinocchio himself was being thrown into the hole.
It's a little boy. It's a real little
dead
boy.
Okay,
but he's dead. I didn't know if he was dead. He just could have been like knocked out. He's gonna
die in that hole.
Gonna die either way, man.
Yeah, that's true.
So then a cop nearly runs into a parked car, which is the parked car of Vincent Gatto, and
hey, that's supposed to park here.
Yeah,
I'm in Florida.
That's
how we talk.
This is how we talk in Florida. And he sees some blood in the back seat of the car, and so he's like, okay, I'm gonna go investigate because clearly something is amiss.
Something's wrong here.
So he goes to investigate, and he comes across Vincent Gatto burying the child. And the very next morning, the police arrive. It's bright as day, no storm anymore. And they investigate the scene, and they start digging up another area, and they find what they think is another body, but it's actually a puppet.
Oh,
Pinocchio is buried off in a distance. Ethan's putting some pieces together.
Interesting.
What does that mean? Oh no!
What happened?
Oh, okay. I thought I knocked something over, but I didn't.
Okay.
I thought I knocked over my bottle of whiskey, but I'm perfectly fine.
That's the most Mike thing I've ever heard on this podcast.
Shut up. I was trying to kick my socks off, and I accidentally knocked my bottle over. But
it's comfy over here. I get it. Yeah.
You know, I'm settling into.
Well, you're settling in because there's something about like a wooden puppet that's very comforting.
Honestly, kind of. It's like a nice, comfy blanket, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, not since watching the Geppetto movie have I felt this comfortable.
Oh, man.
Remember when we watched Geppetto?
Yeah.
With all the commercials added in.
So good. Check it out. The Other Half Podcast.
Check it out. So we are transported to present day, and Vincent Gatto is in court, and he's being referred to as a serial killer because there was other murders that happened.
I always thought
that he was pinned.
When I was a kid, serial killers really meant that they were killing cereal. As a kid, I legitimately thought that.
No, you did not.
I did.
What do you even mean killing cereal? Like eating lots of cereal?
Like they would just like go outside and kill like the box.
Kill the box of cereal?
I was fucking like 4 or 5 years old. I don't know.
A 4 or 5 year old learning what a serial killer is.
The information age, baby.
That's
We know
true.
too much.
That's true.
I don't think a kid should be learning that.
You learned what serial killer. You learned the term serial killer if you didn't know what it meant.
I didn't also know how it was spelled either.
Yeah, that's true too. Okay, so
I would have preferred sequence killer. Is all I'm saying.
yeah, that's true. From
Much better name.
what is it? Mindhunters.
Yeah, R.I.P.
R.I.P. They say they're gonna bring it back. We'll see.
I ain't trusting nothing Netflix says.
Me fucking neither. So Vincent Gatto is going to court. His lawyer, who's named Jennifer. The name is Jennifer.
Call her Jen sometimes.
Jen.
That's my fun casual name. I don't know if she's cool with that, but I'm gonna call her that.
I don't know. To be completely honest, I only know her name because the captions told me what it was. This is one of those movies.
To be fair, I looked up on IMDb.
Yeah. So she's a lawyer. She's trying to appeal Vincent Gatto's case because she says that he was labeled a serial killer, even though 2 of the murders, he had an alibi. There's no way that he killed all of those kids. And then they're like, well, he actually is going to prison and on death row, because he has been successfully tried for killing 1 child, which was his own kid. So she's just like, yeah, but during the case, it was brought up. He was arrested and imprisoned under the term serial killer, and that was untrue.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, maybe I could try to appeal the case. I'm like, I don't think they're gonna fucking good luck, girl. I don't think that's gonna happen. So the lawyer's at home. She's reviewing the evidence in full view of her daughter Zoe, and the evidence is like children murdered on the street.
Oh, cool.
corners. Yeah, all of them have been like.
So this is the one problem with work from home. I will say, some jobs maybe you shouldn't work from home.
Well, she should have like she. That's what I hate. She has a big ass fucking house.
She has a huge house.
Don't do it in the living room.
Yeah, there's plenty of places you could do it.
Do it in
She's
another
like,
bedroom.
I feel so cooped up in that. Probably.
Sure, yeah. Now her fucking daughter walks in and looks at all the dead bodies of children. And so she's just like, I've been having dreams about Dad and his new girlfriend, and I thought they were dead. Yeah, she's having dreams about that. And she's like, well, do you want to call your dad and check in on them? And she's like, no, that's fine. And so we're starting to learn a little bit about like how she feels like she's been betrayed by her dad, basically, because he left the family and now she's stuck with mom. And he sort of holds that against her mom. It's a very sort of like mature, complex issue, like this idea of like hurt and pain in a divorce, in a kind of messy divorce.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's like the movie didn't need to do that. We arrive back at Jen's office.
Movie didn't need to do that. Positive.
Yeah, positive. That is in the positive section of the movie. Jen arrives back at her work, and there's evidence of Gatto's crime, like the shovel that he was burying his son in, as well as the doll. Pinocchio is in her office.
In her office?
In her office.
She just brings evidence home.
No, in her office, in her actual like work office.
Yeah, but that's crazy to like bring that to your office, I feel.
She asked for all the evidence because she wanted to check on it, because she's trying to get Gatto.
I guess you're a lawyer. I guess maybe you can get something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how law works.
No, you don't. So Gatto. I mean, I don't either. Gatto. Her boss is like, I don't think you're gonna fucking get this guy off. There's no fucking way.
Yeah, it's a rough one,
especially during an election year, and especially in Florida. Zoe goes to school with a little girl named Beth. And Beth does not pay attention in class, and Zoe is kind of a little shit about it, like
kind of a narc.
Yeah, kind of a narc, kind of like just kind of shitty about it. I'm like, Beth isn't doing anything to you, you know? Like in this scene, it feels like Zoe's the one that's casting the first stone on Beth, and I'm just like, maybe Beth was a bit of a dick to her, but I don't know that. If I'm just looking at it from this perspective, I'm like, Zoe, chill the fuck out. Like, nobody likes a fucking brown nose. Jennifer talks to Gatto. They're between like a pane of glass.
That's how you know he's dangerous.
That's right. And he's like, look, I killed my son, okay? I don't understand why you're trying to save my life. He's like, I don't want to go on living. I have no reason to live. My son is dead. What is the point? And then she's like, yeah, but I don't think you killed all those other kids. And then he's like, I am a serial killer. I killed them all. And she doesn't believe him. And he's just like, I just want to die. And
God.
Yeah, he's just like, what's the point of all this? And she's like, who are you protecting? And
I don't know, man. As a public defendant, I'd be like, all right.
Right?
I did what,
if my client straight up tells me, like, I killed them all.
I killed them all, and also I want to die, it's like, all right, cool, man. That's like cash a check and go home. You know what I'm saying?
That's her job, though, man. Maybe the check only clears if you get them off, you know?
That seems fucked. There's no way a public defendant would be paid based on that. There have to be paid like a base something.
Oh, just by like the hours?
Yeah, like a salary or something like that.
I don't know how public defendants work.
I don't know, but I imagine that'd be kind of fucked up if it was like, yeah, you only get money if you win this public defendant gate where you're
get
literally,
more money if you
you're
win.
literally doing people who can't afford lawyers and you just got to make sure to win every time.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I just
yeah.
can't. There's no way that's the way. There's no way. Like, the justice system's fucked. It's not that fucked. Yeah.
Yeah. So after class, Zoe's inviting people to her birthday party, but she does not want to invite Beth. But she makes a big show of it. I feel like I'm coming down hard against Zoe.
Yeah.
But she is
really hard on Zoe.
She's being really kind of shitty to Beth. And she's just like, not you, Beth. And so Beth steals Zoe's invites and drops them into like a watery puddle. And Zoe fucking loses it. And she pushes Beth over and bites her ear.
Oh.
And, like bites it until blood is drawn.
That's kind of nuts.
And she doesn't tell her mom, but her mom sees the blood on her mouth, so she knows.
So Pinocchio has not been introduced to Zoe at all at
No.
this point. So she's going off the rails all her on her own.
Zoe, in fact, is taken to her therapist, and the therapist says that he's like, you got to forgive your father. I feel like your anger towards him is starting to materialize in other like ways, basically. The dad calls, but Zoe doesn't want to talk to him.
What's the dad's name?
Walter, Wally, Wellness.
Why can't you just make it? Is it not Barry?
Well, there's.
I'm just gonna start throwing out names.
I thought it started with a D or a W. D is David is her new boyfriend, right?
Yes, but Barry is the old guy, I think.
Old guy.
Well, the old husband.
Old
I think.
husband. Got
Yeah.
it. Okay. I thought his name started with a W.
It's fair.
Barry. Barry calls, but Zoe didn't want to talk to him. I wrote down there's some lady with an accent living with them, and she dresses like Chucky. Who is she? She has like stripes.
She's just the nanny.
She has like a striped shirt and she just is there, and they don't like address her at all. And then at one
clear
point
that she's busy and she just has like a live-in nanny or something, or like a nanny that appears a lot most of the
I
days.
guess, but I'm just like, what? Like, why not just go? I don't know. I'm like, where do you live? Apparently, she lives there. She has a
Oh
bedroom
wow,
there.
she's literally like a butler.
Yeah.
Damn.
I know.
That's crazy to me that butlers still probably exist in these days, right? Like, I feel like butlers like
Well, she is
in 1920s shit where it's like you make a ton of money.
I don't think she's a
You have a
butler.
live-in
I do
butler.
think she's a
Right,
live-in
but, like,
nanny.
a live-in
She's
nan-
not cleaning anything.
Okay, like anyone that lives in, like, imagine living.
You're
in your,
instantly a butler?
no, but like imagine living at your work. Like that's just a crazy concept to me that like I
Yeah.
feel like doesn't really translate to 2024.
Yeah.
You know, like
Well, I mean, a lot of people work from home.
yes, but that's home. That's not your boss's
Work.
home. Like
Yeah,
imagine
that's
going
true.
to work,
living at your boss's home.
living at your boss's house. That's what you're doing.
Mhm.
You get your own little like private area, but like that's crazy. Like I don't know, man. Like
And then your boss brings home a creepy doll. And
Yeah.
and then looks at you when you're showering.
yeah.
And you're like, oh shit.
Like in her weird private home, I imagine, or private shower, I assume.
Yeah.
It's not cool.
Exactly right. And you gotta take care of this fucking kid. And the kid's biting kids.
That would be pretty obnoxious.
Yeah.
I feel like most of the time those people have it made where it's like the
Not
family's
her.
mostly cool, probably fine.
Well, maybe she had it made for a bit.
It's
but
probably
now,
made for a bit, but not
yeah.
now. Not if the kids start biting ears.
So the judge denies the appeal, and Gatto is sent to his execution.
Ah,
How do you
Gatto.
think? How is he executed?
electric chair, baby.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you got
Fucking monstrous.
You got to do if it's a horror movie, you gotta go theatrical, baby.
Oh, my.
I don't know if the electric chair is pretty much banned everywhere now, right?
Now I think it is, but not at the time. I don't
1998.
think.
Yeah, it might have been still legal.
Definitely in fucking.
Yeah, Florida might have been.
Yeah, Florida. I remember watching this movie called Mr. Death. It was directed by Errol Morris, who he's directed a lot of really good documentaries like The Thin Blue Line and stuff
Yeah,
like
I've
that.
heard that's very good. Yeah.
Love Thin Blue Line. I watched Mr. Death, and it's about the guy that made like I think he made like all of the forms of like you're looking it up right now.
No, guess what?
What?
The electric chair is
Still around?
it's not banned. It's just been declined significantly. Apparently between 2000 and 2002 in Florida, the states eliminated the electric chair as the only method of electrocution. So it used to only be the electric. Only
Yeah,
way
it
of
used to be
execution.
only the electric chair, and then it turned into the what is it the shots.
Lethal injection.
Lethal injection. So all of these forms of death, and also like gas chambers is the other way that they used to kill people.
Really.
And all of these forms of death were created by this guy. There's just this dude.
One dude just like has how I kill people.
Yeah, he like cornered the market
I
on
guess
ways
if
of
you're-
murdering people because
I
he's
guess
like,
if you're
it
good-
needs to happen.
If you're good at a job, never do it for free.
Yeah, he was the Joker. But here's the twist of the documentary. So the documentary starts out, and you just learn about this guy, and even in like even if you were a fucked up person who like truly believed that the state can like murder anybody,
yeah.
right? You can be like, oh yeah, you know, maybe this guy's got like, you know. It's a job.
It's a living. Someone's got to do it, I guess.
Someone's got to make this stuff.
They're going to make people kill people. We got to make it, guess, somewhat humane, I guess.
That's how he says it. The guy's like, well, you know, we want to kill these people. We want to make sure it's in the most humane way possible. Dude does not know anything about like the process, by the way. He's just a dude who has found ways of killing people in ways that are less lethal than like other ways. But he doesn't have like I know this is really off topic, but he doesn't have like education in this stuff. Like he's not a doctor.
He literally is just like, oh, this sounds like a cool, like I bet this would work if you electrocute someone.
He's not like Kevorkian or anything. Like he doesn't know anything about this stuff. He was just like, yeah, what are ways of murdering people? And how can we like make machines to do it efficiently?
Oh my God.
Okay. And so he knows all this shit about like, you know, poison you put in people's body to kill them, gas chambers and stuff.
Electric chair.
And then he started looking into the Holocaust, and he's like, oh yeah, no, all that was fake. There's no way that they actually killed all those Jewish people because
what the fuck?
Because he knows how to kill people, and he's like, if you were to actually want to kill these people in the Holocaust, there would have to have been these other ways. This is how I would have done it, and they didn't do it that way, so it's not true.
What the fuck? So what a weird conclusion.
The movie takes a massive turn where it's like at first you're like, well, you know, it's just a guy doing a job, and then you're like, oh no, he's a Holocaust denier. And that's the dude who's creating
I don't like this
machines.
This motherfucker's denying German engineering. Is all I'm saying. It's fucked up.
Dude is crazy.
That's nuts.
And that's the dude who's creating the machinery that we were using to kill people for the longest time in this
still
country.
Are sometimes,
yes.
apparently.
Isn't that crazy? I know I went off on this big tangent, but it's truly something that blows me away.
That is crazy. No, I never knew that. That's nuts.
Yeah. Insane documentary, Mr. Death. You should check it out if you feel like you have the stomach for it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, truly horrific. Anyway, so Gatto is murdered, and Jennifer goes to watch it. He's killed in the electric chair. And in this scene, I was just like, geez, what a horrible way to die.
Yeah.
Jennifer goes to church right afterwards, and she talks to a cool, shaggy priest. I don't know if you see this guy later.
Oh, yeah, he kind of looks like me.
He kind of does look like
with shorter
but
hair.
He looks worse than you.
Yeah, he looks like a dweebier version of me.
He looks like and he's not a good actor.
No, he kind of looks like the cuck version of me.
He looks like
I know they exist. It's fine. I can acknowledge it. There's
but you're not one of
them.
them.
No,
but
he
is one
wrong
of
with
them.
that. But you know,
so he's like a priest, and she's like, "Hey, can I get you a cup of coffee?" And so they get coffee together, and she's just like, "I feel like as a public defender, I'm turning my daughter into a violent person because she sees all the stuff that I do." And
yeah,
I'm putting violent
dumbass, you're
people out
fucking
on the
leaving
street.
that shit out in the living room. Like, just
Exactly.
go in your office and do that, you weirdo.
So clearly this priest comes back into play later, right?
Barely.
Okay,
but he does.
All right. So she asks her boss, she's like, how can some... Oh, yeah. So she goes back to her office and she sees the fucking Pinocchio puppet. We should probably describe this Pinocchio puppet. How would you describe this thing?
Okay, so it's basically like you go to a fair and you go to like a Ren fair, right? And they got a puppet and it's kind of like made definitely by hand.
Oh, it's made by
It's
plastic.
definitely by... You think it's plastic?
Yeah, it's not made of wood. There's no way this thing's made of wood.
I don't know. It's got some pretty shitty painting on it. That feels like the paint could only go with wood.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still like a pretty mediocre drawing of or some sort of like a sculpt of a puppet.
Yeah.
It's pretty scary though.
It looks to me like one of those puppets that were in Five Nights at Freddy's.
Like an animatronic kind of.
But like particularly I think in Five Nights at Freddy's like 2 or 3, there's like a puppet in that.
Oh yeah,
game.
You're right. It does kind of look like that puppet from that one.
Big wide blue eyes, like really stark color scheme of like yellow.
Very stands out.
Blue. Yeah. It doesn't look good, but
I thought it was okay. Like in terms of like
it looks like scary.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like comfy. Like nobody would look at that and go like, that's a really sweet thing to make a child.
Yeah, no. It's definitely not like the other Pinocchio movies we saw where they tried to make him like a wood well, most of the time they played by actual people. This is like one of the only ones. No, the Jonathan Taylor Thomas one was like a puppet. Weird, and yeah, that thing like tried to look too real that it kind of
that thing scared the shit out of us.
I think that was actually probably more scary.
That thing was more scary, but this thing to me
this thing to me feels like something you'd find in real life.
Why I'm leading into this is Jen goes back to her office, sees the Pinocchio sculpture, and goes, "How could anyone that make this want to kill children?"
Are you fucking kidding? This is the most like it's so handmade,
yeah,
and kind of janky,
yeah.
Like it looks like a legit puppet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely something.
And the boss is like, girl, the killings stopped after he was arrested. I don't know what to tell you. Like, put the pieces together. She's like, no, I feel like he didn't do it. I'm like,
she's bad at her job.
I'm like, your intuition is I think is starting to get a little bit bad.
Yeah.
So today is Zoe's birthday. And the doll.
Happy birthday, Zoe.
I
hope your party's great.
The doll that she ordered will not arrive today. And so she's driving home, and the Pinocchio doll is in her back seat. And I don't know if she put it back there. I don't know if she's aware that it's in her back seat, but it is in her back seat. And she goes back to like grab some paper, and she gets like a splinter because she like touches the puppet. But then she's like, ooh, must be a paper cut. And then she like grabs the paper from the back seat. But I'm like, I don't think she knows the puppet's back there. I don't know.
Also, a splinter is significantly different from a paper cut.
I agree.
But
so she arrives home, and David is there. And I don't know who David was, because David has not been like
David's her new
introduced.
boyfriend.
David is her boyfriend, but he doesn't. I don't know. I don't think he's interested in women.
You might be right.
So he's like, hey, girlfriend, how can I help you? She's like, I just got back from work. I couldn't get the toy. I don't know what to do. And David's like, don't worry about it. I'm gonna help Sophia.
She's like, babe, but the toy's the only way you come.
And that's Cuck Ethan right there.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
I revealed too much.
So David's like, I'm gonna help out. I'll set up everything. I'll go to your car, take everything out of it. Don't worry about it. I'll set up the party with Sophia, make it all pretty for Zoe. So, Jen comes back. She's all dressed up, ready to go. She comes out and she realizes the Pinocchio doll is amongst the toys for Zoe.
Okay.
And David basically saw the doll in the back seat of her car and thought that was the doll that was a present basically for her. And that's why he took it out. But she's just like, whoops, nope, that's not.
Oops, this is just evidence that I have in the back of my car.
And this is the thing. Like, the movie did not make it clear as to whether or not she meant to put it in her back seat.
Yeah.
Why would she? I don't know why she would do that. Yeah.
She didn't seem like she.
Seems like something like the puppet snuck into her back seat, right? But then she doesn't seem to bring up like how to get in there, because like
no, she doesn't question it.
She works in an office space.
Interesting about this movie is it's like a lot of just like, yeah, it just happened, but is it real?
It's happenstance. Zoe goes to bed, and Sophia is sent. It sounds like she's like, I thought she was sent home, but I think she was more like, Jen is more like, hey, don't worry about doing the dishes. You've done enough. Just go to bed or whatever. And so I guess she just goes to her room. And David and Jen is up, and they're making out in the living room.
Nice. She's like, get out of here, worker.
And then we see the doll peeking out from the edge of the corner, and they're still making out. And then the doll starts to approach them, and it jumps in front of them, but it's actually Zoe moving the doll. So it wasn't the doll moving. So then David tells Zoe that Pinocchio was supposed to be a good boy, but the blue fairy tried to help him,
So they all already call this doll Pinocchio.
Yeah, everyone's already calling it.
They just call it Pinocchio because it looks like Pinocchio.
Yep,
I mean,
exactly.
get this wooden doll, like, right? Yeah.
But sometimes like in a zombie movie, zombies don't exist.
They call them Zeds or Freakers.
Well, maybe they'll call them zombies, but they don't go like, oh man, this is just like Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah,
that's
like, true.
But so that's what I thought was going on here. Is like they're not going to call him Pinocchio, right?
No,
but they do call him Pinocchio.
like,
right
this
off the bat.
exists in real life. This story.
And David is like, Pinocchio was supposed to be a good little boy. The blue fairy tried to help him.
It's like you get a Tickle Me Elmo doll. You're like, you can call him Elmo.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you look at it. Yeah, he starts killing people. You're like, oh, Elmo.
And he says,
Elmo's world now.
Mr. Noodle, I'm gonna kill you. And he's like, but he kept doing bad things, and he's just like trying to scare her. But he's basically telling us, the audience who already knows the story of Pinocchio, and tells it
obviously
to Zoe.
You've seen all four.
Everyone knows the story. They've listened to the audiobook. They've watched every single incarnation.
They played Liza P and beat it.
That's true. I've listened to the audiobook. You've played Liza P.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of overlap.
There's a lot of overlap. The
P organ,
the Black Rabbit Brotherhood. They're in the book and the game. Yeah,
that's right. Zoe is put to bed again, and David and Jennifer, they're like, hey, let's go back to kissing. And I'm like, oh, here we go. They're gonna like kiss a little bit, and then the camera's gonna like track out, pan over to the window. No, they start fucking.
Oh, nice.
And you see everything.
Wow.
You see him going to town.
Wow, Pinocchio's revenge indeed.
And then they cut to Zoe in her room, and she hears everything.
I feel, the more I hear about the beginning of this movie solidifies my thought that I was going to say that I think she's kind of a bad mom.
Jen? You don't think Jen's a good mom?
She's kind of a bad mom.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think she's dealing with a lot.
She's dealing with a lot.
She went through a divorce. She's a public defender.
Yeah, but she's kind of a bad mom, I think, in a lot of ways. I don't know. She doesn't seem really fully be there.
I personally would probably not. Doesn't seem like she enjoys being a public offender.
So it doesn't seem like she enjoys being a mom either.
Yeah, it's fair. I don't know what her husband is doing, but yeah, I'm sort of like maybe
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Laurie Strode's a better mom, single mom.
Yeah. I think I agree with that. Even though she's overprotective, at least she cares.
Exactly. So yeah, Zoe hears them from her room, and she's like, this scene. Yeah, she's like, she goes over to Pinocchio and she's like, I wish you were a real boy so I wouldn't be alone. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe don't put that scene right after the sex scene.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of a weird context.
Yeah, like, I know she's just doing it because she's worried that, like, her mom is going to fall in love with this guy and leave her alone. But I'm like, I don't know. I think there can be weird connections made here. So the weird connections continue because then we get full frontal of Sophia showering.
She's just there. She's just taking
hard
a shower.
cut to
She's
her.
like, I'm not doing the dishes anymore.
This is the next day. This is the morning after. And by full frontal, I mean like full, like you see everything. It kind of. I think it's sort of similar to how you were describing in a movie we saw recently. Mary Lou, Prom Night 2.
Oh yeah,
where it's just like gratuity for no reason.
We're just like, wow, you really just are naked for like no purpose.
Yeah. Okay. Well, she is showering, I guess. So
you got to get naked to shower.
So she showers. She's really showing her body off to the camera, and then she covers herself in a towel, and then she goes out and she sees Pinocchio's watching her, and she's just like. She's like, what are you doing in my room? And then Zoe pops out and grabs Pinocchio. And she's like, what did you do with Pinocchio? Why'd you bring him in here? And she's like, I didn't bring him in here. He was in here
already
when he came out of the shower. Yeah.
So you trust Zoe? Maybe Zoe put her in there.
Yeah.
Put him in there.
Therapy session again. She thinks that David might take her mom away from her, and then she'll have nobody, she says.
That's what Zoe thinks?
That's what Zoe thinks.
Yeah.
Jennifer asks Zoe why she snuck into Sophia's room. And Zoe's like, well, it was Pinocchio that snuck in there. He was curious about ladies' bodies after hearing the two of you in bed the other night. Yeah.
See, that's one of those things where it's like, did Pinocchio hear that? Or then like...
I mean, she definitely heard it. Like,
yeah,
Zoe
right?
definitely heard it.
Zoe hear that?
There's a weird, man, I don't know. There's a weird energy in this movie that's like unnerving, but probably purposeful.
Yeah, I think it's purposeful.
So she's like, and this thing was kind of funny because then like Jen follows that up like going like, so you want to talk about it? Like what you heard? And then Zoe's like, no. Hey, what's this present you got me? And Jen's like, well, this is the doll I was going to get you originally, so we're going to take Pinocchio back. And Zoe's like, you're not going to take Pinocchio. Pinocchio is mine. And Jen's like, no.
At this point, has Pinocchio talked at all to Zoe?
None. We've never heard Pinocchio talk. And I've never even seen Pinocchio move by himself at this point. And Jen's like, he's evidence. We're going to take him back. I'm going to take him back to the office tomorrow. And Zoe's like, first dad, now Pinocchio, old men. You drive old men away. You get rid of all these. I know. So that night, Zoe's in bed and she's like, good night, Pinocchio. Pinocchio's sitting like in a chair on the corner of the room.
Yeah. And
the camera like pans over to her in bed, and then she hears a noise and the camera pans over again, and Pinocchio's standing at the edge of her bed now. And she's just like, sure, yeah, you can sleep in bed with me. And then she cuddles Pinocchio and they sleep in bed together that night. And then the next day, Zoe takes Pinocchio to school, even though mom said that she was going to take Pinocchio back to her office. And mom finds the doll that she bought Zoe yesterday, and it's been beaten and disfigured in a similar way that the children had been murdered in those crime scene photos. And at school, Beth, that bitch.
Beth the bitch.
That awful little girl who's done nothing wrong steals Pinocchio and throws him over a fence. And Zoe goes to retrieve Pinocchio. And as she goes over to Pinocchio, she sees Pinocchio's laying on the ground, and Pinocchio's hand is on like a rake. Mm-hmm. And Zoe's like, Pinocchio, what are you up to? And we see that the rake is like pointed towards Beth. And I'm just like, is Pinocchio gonna like fucking pick up the rake and like kill Beth? But I don't know, because then my half ends at that point.
So I just see Pinocchio on the ground,
and
a little girl, and standing over him, and Pinocchio then puts the rake. I put broom because I didn't think it was a rake, but that doesn't matter. Puts it out there and trips Beth on the bike.
Oh, okay.
And she trips and falls in front of a school bus.
Oh, shit.
And a school bus comes and runs her over.
Holy shit!
But she doesn't die. Because
How?
She gets hit by the school bus because the driver sees her and she's down, but she doesn't get hit by any wheels.
Oh, she went under the bus.
She went under the bus. And it's fine.
Oh my god, I thought Pinocchio fucking murdered this poor little girl.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Holy
so I was like,
shit,
wow.
I fucking missed the first kill of the movie.
You really did.
Oh my god.
She didn't die. She's fine.
Yeah, I guess that's true. It wasn't a kill.
So yeah, so they're like talking like, damn, she's really attached to this puppet. And I'm like, did the Pinocchio do it? Did the little girl do it? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
She gets a call from, I guess, was it Barry is his name? I don't know, her boyfriend, who's now a doctor. I guess she
David,
used to date a landscaper. Is there a landscaper?
Landscaper is David.
Okay, so she got a call from a doctor instead.
Okay.
I was very confused because I thought she was dating a doctor.
No.
But no, she's dating a landscaper.
She's dating a landscaper.
Okay. So, yeah, this guy's like, hey, you got a call from is your landscaper? He's like, no, it's a doctor's time. And the doctor's like, hey, just let you know, your daughter's in the hospital. She claims a puppet pushed a classmate in front of a bus.
Mm-hmm.
And so she goes to talk to a psychologist. And the psychologist is this kind of a balding guy. And he's just like, yeah, man, separation at this point may be too traumatic to separate them.
For the Pinocchio, you mean?
Yeah, from Pinocchio. You can't separate Pinocchio at this point. What about the girl at school? Apparently she said she was teasing her at all or something. And they talked to Zoe, and she's like, Pinocchio didn't mean to do a bad thing. He just doesn't understand the difference between right and wrong.
Mm-hmm. He needs a little Jiminy Cricket.
Yeah, so Jen is staying with her boyfriend, and they're talking in bed, and her boyfriend's like, can you like quit your job and stay with the kid full time? She's like,
no.
She's like
a
I can do
single
that.
income.
Like all the stuff going on. She's like, well, you could move in with me. She's like, I don't know. Zoe's been through enough change already with 1 year with her dad and everything. And then he seems so sad by this. He's just like, oh, and she's like, spoon me. And he's like, okay. So yeah, so then she's not got a new public defender. I thought this was the serial killer guy. This is a completely random dude, I guess.
Yeah.
And she's like, your client is a well-known pusher and pimp, and so my client hunged him with and all that stuff and killed him, but no one's gonna miss him. And they're like, yeah, but he also did it for fun. Like, he got him with a meat hook and then blowtorched him on top of it.
Jesus.
Here's the audio because he wanted to listen to it again over and over again, and I'm gonna play it. And he plays it, and the guy who's on the bench is like, this is funny. Like he likes it.
Oh no.
I know. So then she's just exhausted, goes to the bathroom, like washes her face, comes back out, and the other lawyer is like, so like this is an open shut case, right? And she's like, no, I didn't hear my client's voice on the tape at all, so there's no proof at all. I just heard screaming.
Yeah.
So it could have been anyone.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this really shows her character is just like so stubborn that like whatever she believes, she's gonna stick to despite the evidence to the contrary. Like,
she's a liar, and her nose is gonna grow.
She's a liar, but also she's a believer in the system. And the system doesn't work, or something. The movie's trying to go places.
Mm-hmm.
So Sophie's
belly of a whale.
Sophie's here. Notices, speaking of whale, there is a kid's toy in the trash, and it is a whale.
It used to be her favorite toy.
I think it's an orca or something.
It's a big it's a killer whale.
And she's like. So the mom calls and is like, hey, can you stay later? She's like, no, I got to get my work visa. So she's like, all right, I'll call my my boyfriend to go, and she can stay. He can stay there and watch her, and you can go get your work visa.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a landscaper. Yeah, Kaminsky Landscaping. He's here to babysit. So then she's interviewing the client still because she still has to work late and interview the client. The client's just like, the television told me to kill him.
Oh my god.
And she's like, I don't know. And then she writes down insanity defense question mark. And he grabs her hand and is like, no, lady, I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. The box did talk to me. It told me to do these things. It wasn't a TV show. It told me to do these things. She's like, okay. And I think what they're trying to do is be like, in her job, people at her job are telling her that other elements, such as demons or something, are telling them to do horrible things.
Right.
It really is like a legitimate defense.
When you see like Pinocchio,
when you see her daughter do horrible things, it's like, well, maybe
Same
something's
thing.
telling her to do that.
Oh, or maybe she's crazy.
Or maybe she's crazy.
Yeah.
So, David's there. He's like, oh, time for bed. She's like, all right, I'll go to bed. She's like, he's like, do you want to be tucked in? She's like, no, it's okay. I'm good. So she goes to bed, and she's talking to Pinocchio. Pinocchio's talking now. I don't know if Pinocchio, for me, I'm like, this is normal. This is how it goes.
Not
Pinocchio.
for me. What
Pinocchio's
does he sound like,
don't tell anyone we talk. Also, by the way, David hears that's like, are you talking to someone? She's like, no, I'm just talking to Pinocchio. And he's like, haha, goofy. He's like, we could be a family together, you, me, and Mom, but David can't be around.
Oh no.
I can make David go away. And Zoe's like, no, don't make David go away. He's all right. And she's like, you can't become a real boy if you keep doing bad things. Mm-hmm. Emphasis on keep doing bad things.
Oh, because he's been doing bad things.
He did put that stick out there to trip that kid.
That's true.
And he's like, but getting rid of David would be a good thing, he says.
What does Pinocchio sound like? Is it Vern Troyer or is it somebody else?
It just sounds like a little kid to me.
Oh, okay.
So it could be Vern Troyer doing a kid voice.
I'm going to look it up.
That's just such a wild choice to be like, you do the voice now.
Yeah.
So then Zoe wakes up and looks around and can't find Pinocchio at her bed. And so she wakes up and walks out and looks around. David wakes up and jump scares her. And she's like, ah. And he's like, what are you doing walking around? He's like, well, I was trying to look for Pinocchio and he went in the basement and I'm going to go down and get him. And he's like, no, I'll go down and get him. And everyone in the audience. Is like.
In the theater that we're watching this in.
Oh, come on, man. You can't do that. You know bad things are going to happen.
Yeah.
So he goes down there instead. He tries bumping into things. He bumps into a bunch of stuff. And he tries to leave. But he gets up the stairs. He's like, I can't find Pinocchio. He gets up the stairs. And the door slams on him. And he falls down all of the stairs. And a bunch of blood appears at him.
Oh, my God.
And I'm like, oh, shit, he's dead. But Jen gets a call. He has been taken. Apparently, Zoe called 911 and took him there. And he survived. He's fine. He actually lived.
Okay. That's a relief. Yeah. I was worried about him.
So then Zoe's like, Pinocchio, did you make David fall down the stairs? And she's like, answer me. And he says, no. And then his nose doesn't grow. But it's a weird scene where he turns and there's like a shadow on the wall. And it looks like his nose grows in the shadow, but his nose doesn't grow, which is interesting.
That's odd.
Yeah, I don't know why. Maybe it's just because it's like, I think this movie's trying to fuck with you to be like,
really, it's doing a good job.
It's really trying to be like, is Zoe a killer or is it Pinocchio doing this? And she's just using it as an excuse.
So I looked it up. The voice of Pinocchio is not Vern Troyer. It's Vern Troyer, I think, just played Pinocchio in scenes where they needed to like have Pinocchio run around.
Guy running around.
The voice of Pinocchio is a different guy, a voice actor who played Bird Boy in the original Birdman cartoons and stuff.
Interesting.
And Jack from Jack and the Beanstalk, the old stop motion, he voiced Gumby.
Gumby?
Yeah,
the Gumby.
The Gumby. Wow. He voiced Davy from Davy and Goliath.
Sure. Okay.
So yeah, he's a pretty well renowned voice actor for little children.
I think that's the creepiness, to be honest. Mm-hmm. So then Zoe's out the next day getting bugs for science and
bugs.
And Sophie comes up and is like, "Hey, I found." Or for science class, I guess she forgot it.
Sure.
Her mom runs off, but Sophie comes up and is like, "Hey, I found Walter in the trash. Did you throw him away?" Walter's the
whale.
The whale that she saw. And she's like, "No, Pinocchio did something with him. Anyway, I got a cricket. It's a conscious for Pinocchio. She caught a cricket."
Oh.
And then Sophie's like, "Well, in the original Italian version, Pinocchio squashed one of the crickets during one of his tantrums."
Yeah, that's true.
And I'm like, that's something Mike would say. Mike would know that.
Yeah, I tell that to children.
You tell it to children all the time.
Go to Disneyland.
She's like, oh, fun.
Yeah. I write the Pinocchio right at Disneyland. So this is actually inaccurate to the original source material.
Yeah, the original source material, Jiminy Cricket fucking died.
His name wasn't even Jiminy Cricket. His name was just the Cricket. And he dies pretty early on.
Yeah, he doesn't last very long. He doesn't have a very good conscience because Pinocchio's a bad guy. So then they're at the psychologist's office with Dr. Edwards and... her and Pinocchio are there talking to Dr. Edwards, and he's like, "Hold on, I have to go talk to the delivery driver." And at this moment, Pinocchio turns and his mouth starts moving. He actually starts like physically talking. Before, when he talked, it was kind of like psychic. It felt like,
right?
But now you see his mouth moving, and she's like, "Are you sure you?" She's like, "I can't believe you hurt David. Because of this, we have to be here." And the psychologist's office is stupid,
right?
And he's like, "Are you sure you didn't hurt David? Are you sure you didn't do it?" And she's like, "Of course it wasn't me." He's like, "If you weren't there, then how could you be sure it was me?" how could you be sure it was me? And I'm like, that's a stupid response, but like, okay, like no one else is in the room. Obviously, it's you.
Yeah.
And she's like, shut up. That's a stupid argument. He's like, it was you. You did it. You pushed David down there. And she's like, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. And then at that moment, the psychologist walks back in because he had to talk to the delivery driver. And he's like, this is weird.
What an odd behavior from a little girl.
Little strange behavior.
Yeah.
So he calls the mom, and the mom is like, and he's like, you got to come down to the office. And she's like, well, can't you just tell me over the phone? He's like, no, you got to come down here and make some changes. She's like, all right. And then Zoe's like upset at Pinocchio. Like, you're gonna have them put me away. Like, and he's like, well, obviously the best thing to do is you got to give me life. You have to cut my strings. And I'm like, your strings?
Yeah, he has strings. He's like a marionette.
He literally has, the whole marionette thing.
Yeah.
And she's like,
I should have mentioned
and she's
that.
like, you sure you'll be good? And he's like, yeah, of course I'll be good. And she's like, okay. So she snips all of the strings from him. And so by the way, the mom is going to go visit David in the hospital tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
But he's been elevated from critical condition to stable condition. So he's good.
That's a relief.
That's good. But unfortunately, Pinocchio is now on the loose.
Oh, no.
And he says, let's go visit David.
No.
And he immediately starts running out. And Zoe starts running after him outside. And they run to the streets. And this is actually a pretty fucking cool scene that she runs out into the streets, right?
Mm-hmm.
And following Pinocchio.
Zoe in the streets.
Obviously does not give a fuck. And he's like, come on, Zoe, this way. She walks in the middle of the street, and these two headlights come, and they're about ready to run her over, and then they just pass by her because they're actually two motorcycles.
Oh.
But it looks like a semi.
Yes.
And I'm like, that's a pretty cool little gimmick.
That's from like old like silent films.
Oh, really?
Like Buster Keaton used to do that stuff.
Good. I like a reference. An oldie but a goodie.
Yep.
So Pinocchio you see first person Pinocchio walking around the hospital, and no one seems to give a shit that a fucking puppet's walking around the hospital.
They're in a hospital. There's the bigger shit to fry.
Yeah, the bigger shit to fry.
Yeah.
And then
my favorite turn of phrase: bigger shit to fry.
Bigger shit to fry.
Yeah.
He goes and finds David and unplugs his whatever life support he's on, which I'm like, he fell downstairs.
Yeah, but he wasn't critical condition. Now he's in stable condition. So
yeah, but I'm just like, does he have like life support? Anyway, the thing starts beeping, like beep beep beep, and I'm like, does no nurse give a shit? Like, is no one popping over and being like, plug that back in? They're like,
so
no.
David is dead.
So David fucking dies.
Jesus Christ. Poor David.
So then
he did nothing.
So then mom gets a phone call in the middle of the night, and she's like, wait, I just talked to him. And she's like, sorry, I don't know what happened, but he's dead now.
I don't know what happened.
They literally said, I don't know, it's weird, he just died. And
Yeah.
I'm like, she starts crying and is upset.
Yeah.
She goes to now, after hearing that her boyfriend died, she goes to the psychologist.
Again. Oh.
No, and sees footage of her daughter talking to a doll that's not doing anything. Its mouth's not moving. It's not moving.
Oh, so it could be in her mind.
And is yelling and arguing. And then the psychologist is like, I want your permission to have Zoe committed. She's like, no.
Committed to what?
To the insane asylum.
Oh.
She's like, no. I see evil every day. Every day I work with the worst people in the world.
My daughter is not evil.
My daughter's not one of them. And he's like, listen. If you don't have it committed, I'm going to have to notify the authorities.
Oh, shit.
Because, like, it's pretty obvious that she seemed to have pushed David down the stairs. Like, is a puppet going to do it? Like, that's ridiculous. Which, in his position, fair enough, I guess.
Is the puppet doing anything that she couldn't do?
Not so far.
Yeah, right?
Not so
far. She could have pushed that, like, rake. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then Jen comes home to find the nanny putting things away, and she's like, what are these? These are some shoes. They're muddy. And she's like, well, I don't know. They were like that when I found them. So she goes and confronts Zoe about it. It's like, where were you last night? And she's like, oh, well, I lost a toy and it was outside, so I went out. She's like, you didn't go anywhere to like the hospital or anything? She's like, no, I didn't go anywhere. I was just around the house. I got around the neighborhood. I got scared, and then I got lost, and I came back.
Oh.
But Pinocchio went to the hospital.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay. And then she's like, that's it. I'm taking Pinocchio. So she grabs Pinocchio, walks out with Pinocchio. Zoe starts screaming, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, is she saying this to Pinocchio or is she saying this to the mom?
I think she's saying this to mom. I think Pinocchio is her best friend.
I'm trying to dive in a little deeper to this movie.
Well, what would you do in this situation? I'd burn that fucking doll.
Yeah, but she doesn't.
I'd chop it to smithereens.
She puts it in the back of her trunk.
Okay, sure. It'll be safe there.
It'll be safe there.
I just rolled my eyes really hard, ladies and gentlemen.
You really did.
Yeah.
Cut to point of view of Pinocchio running around the house grabbing a knife. Well, I assume it's Pinocchio. It's someone short. And so
could have been Vern Troyer.
Well, we see Jennifer wake up from bed and see a silhouette of Pinocchio, but then a
silhouette of Pinocchio.
Well, then she sees in a flash it's Pinocchio, and then another flash, it's her daughter.
Oh my!
Her daughter has the knife.
Oh my god!
And her daughter says, "I was protecting you from Pinocchio, actually." And he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. You got to go to bed though." And then we cut to it. Kind of pans down to like the knife on the ground, and you see her feet, and I'm like, "Oh shit, Pinocchio's gonna pop out and cut her legs." He doesn't though.
Oh. Because he's a doll and he can't do anything.
Exactly.
And
so
she's the crazy person.
Jennifer leaves again and leaves a babysitter with Joey. And I'm like, come on, man. Like, this shit's going crazy. You need to take some time off work.
Yeah. No, she has to protect these criminals.
And Sophie's like, is she sick? Is Zoe sick? And she's like, no, she's just, I don't know. She's acting weird. So just have fun. And I'm like, okay. Can you imagine Sophie being like a live-in person and being like, now you have to deal with this person who's going through clear mental episodes?
Yeah. I'm not paid enough
for this shit. But she says, I'll be home late, but I won't be home too late. I have to make a stop at home or stop somewhere else after work.
Okay.
Well, she stops at church. And she talks to that young priest who looks like me and says... He looks like Ethan because he has a beard and glasses and slightly long hair. He doesn't look that much like Ethan. Like every single motherfucker that comes up to me is like, this guy looks like you, is basically showing that sort of thing. Those are all the time. His hair is not that long. It's priest approved long hair. Yeah, exactly. But anyway, and she says like, do you think evil will exist? He's like, I think it does. And then she's like, well, all these evil people who talk to me, they talk about like voices coming to them and like telling them to do things like a demon or something. Do you believe like a demon could be doing that? And he's like, I personally believe in demons, but like if you're asking if it comes from a doll, I don't know about that. That's pretty fucking crazy. That's pretty fucking crazy, bro. So then we see that Sophie, she's vacuuming and Zoe comes in. She's kind of upset. She's like, can I have some juice? She's like, yeah, all right, go have some juice. And then she's like, Pinocchio is like really acting awful. She's like, well, remember you got a conscience for him, right? Like a cricket. She's like, oh yeah, I did. So she goes and runs to the cricket, the little shoebox she had the cricket in, opens it up. And I'm like, that cricket's fucking dead. Yeah. Like died. Normally, like suffocated. But no, it's smashed completely. It's smashed everywhere. And she starts screaming. And the nanny goes, oh my God. So she starts running. She's like, Zoe, are you okay? She starts looking around. The hallway is very scary. And, oh my gosh. The hallway's scary. She's walking, and then suddenly, out of the blue, what are those called? The things you use the fire poker starts smacking her a bunch of times, and she dies. Oh my God! Yeah, it's very anticlimactic, to be honest, because you don't even see Pinocchio doing this. You just see maybe it wasn't Pinocchio doing fire poker doing it. You're right. You don't see Zoe either, so it could be anybody. So Jen arrives home, turns on the light switch, and instead the vacuum turns on, and I'm like, that's not. What are you? Did you really plug in the vacuum into a light switch like port? Like that's a wild choice. Oh, maybe you could do it. It's just kind of ridiculous. And this is why she died. Yeah. So the vacuum turns on. She gets scared. It's fine. The fireplace is still going. She goes and checks the knife drawer. She's like, I can defend myself. She's like, no, this is ridiculous. I don't need to do that. So then she finds Sophie, dead on the ground. And then a lightning flashes, and Zoe is there, looking kind of scary, honestly. Like she might have done it, and then she runs off. She's like, Zoe, come back here. And then she goes and gets hit by what looks like Zoe hitting her with a fire poker. And then she looks up. It's like Zoe's like, oh, don't worry. I got the fire poker away from Pinocchio. Like, he's not going to hurt you anymore. Right. We got to get out of here. And then the mom's like, we got to get out of here before he comes back. And then you see Pinocchio just standing in the corner. And he's suddenly like a doll. And then he suddenly turns and becomes alive. Oh my God. And he appears. He's like, I'm going to get you. He has a knife and he tries to fucking cut her. She locks herself into behind a door. Jen does. And there's like all this stabbing through the door. And eventually. So Jen is seeing Pinocchio attacking her. Jen is seeing Pinocchio attack her. And she gets stabbed in the hand with a knife actually. And she goes, ah. And then she kind of like checks to see if she's there. And he pushes her down. And he has like this weird power where he can just lightning around. Like, he pushes over the door and then he's in the room. Like you don't even see him walk in the room. He just is in the room. It would be too annoying to show him there. Yeah. And then she tries to stab her a couple times, doesn't make it. Then she heads back outside back outside that one room. And you hear Zoe say, Mom, help me. And she goes to get her, and then Pinocchio's there and tries to stab her. and gets on top of her and like tries to like kind of like very Chucky move where he's like on her trying to stab her,
right? And it's clearly just like a model
of this Pinocchio character trying to stab,
and the actor trying desperately hard to make it look like it's
exactly.
Them,
so then the actor then goes and she throws him through a glass table they have.
Oh my god!
And he looks.
I hope he's okay.
He looks dead. I'm like, oh shit! And then lightning flashes, and it turns out it's Zoe.
Holy shit!
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my god! I truly didn't see that coming.
Yeah. It's Zoe, and she's passed out there, and it's like she's then immediately the mom just falls over and passes out as well. Right?
Oh my god!
That
is a good twist.
Honestly, yeah, I was like,
a really good twist.
They've been setting this up this whole time.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, but then we cut to them in the psych ward.
Yeah, both of them.
Yeah, both of them. We see the mom touching Zoe, like she's okay, and talking to the doctor. She's like, how long will she be like this? I'm like, motherfucker, you threw her
through glass.
She's gonna be in like a comatose state, even if she was like a normal person without all these mental issues.
Yeah.
And she said, the doctor's like, I don't know, man. She killed her nanny and your boyfriend. It's gonna be a while before she gets out of here.
Oh,
and
man.
he's like, she's like, I'm gonna get my daughter out of here no matter what. And the doctor's like, I hope not, for your sake.
Oh.
And he walks away, and then it fades to Pinocchio's eyes, and then the credits roll.
What?
Yeah.
Whoa.
And I'm like,
that's
all right.
pretty good.
That's not bad.
That's
like
the
not
worst.
a bad ending.
That's
like
better than most of the horror movies we saw for the Spooktacular.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, it's kind of cheesy, but it's going for something, right? It's got like a good twist.
Swinging.
It's weird.
It's not a home run, but it's hitting it to like.
It leaves you with kind of a sad ending, which I feel like a lot of these horror movies that we watched are always like, oh, it's sad, barely. Like it's like, oh, the dad died in Night Swim, whatever.
The amount of restraint this has, like, it just reminds me so much of like a Chucky movie.
I think they had to do a lot of restraint. That's the point.
But they didn't need to because they could have had the puppet just going like, yeah, fucking bitch, I want to fucking kill you. Like being a rude Pinocchio trying to kill people.
I don't think
they didn't do that
movie.
shit. No, not at all. That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's
the only thing that didn't restrain was full frontal nudity.
Full frontal nudity. That's very strange because no one says fuck in this like ever.
Yeah.
So it's very strange. They're like, we got some titties though. Come on, we got some titties.
Obviously, we got to show this off.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised that I was like, oh, this movie's okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like entertaining.
Yeah,
and
the acting is like
weirdly
pretty decent, and like the story is like. It does something like because legitimately it could have just been like Pinocchio's running out killing people.
That's what I thought the movie was gonna be.
But then it's like
like
Pinocchio,
a Jack Frost style movie, right?
But is Pinocchio killing people, or is this like a thing that is like a vector for people who maybe have the killing gene in them or whatever, you know? And there's just kind of like an escape for them.
I think it's a thing of like, you know, the world that surrounds us poisons us into like turning us into like, you know, like people who cannot tell the difference between right from wrong,
especially if you're in a justice system where you're just sitting there like trying to stop people from going to the electric chair, and it's like, what am I supposed to do here?
And like she says, one of the other things she says about Gatto is she says like he's the first person I thought was really innocent. I couldn't save him. I've saved so many people that I knew were guilty, and there was one person I thought was innocent, and he's dead. And it's this thing of like, I think
do you think Gatto is like supposed to be like Geppetto?
Maybe, or like a cat, like Gatto.
Oh, like works on both levels.
And it's like, you know, there was the cat and the wolf that were
the fox.
But the fox. But I think we're also thinking a little too far into that. But maybe we're not. I don't know. Maybe we're not.
I don't know. This movie clearly, like at one point, Pinocchio says, "You're the blue fairy" to Zoe. You need to cut my strings. You're the only one who can give me life.
Yeah, man. I don't know. This movie
like,
has some thought put into it.
That's why I'm like, did she like just read too much in this Pinocchio story and like is now like this is my like psychosis that I'm just gonna like bring to this and kind of.
Zoe is known for having an interest in like fantasy storytelling and like understanding like the themes behind them. You know, like putting thought into them, which was an interesting note as well. So yeah, I'm sure she did read into Pinocchio. She can understand, you know, the deeper themes that the story is trying to communicate more so than like a normal child. So maybe she's picking up on that. But yeah, I think that's what the movie's getting across is like, you know, you see. I think even the introduction of the client that Jen's working with is this thing of like the TV is turning me into a bad person, and then this idea of like, yeah, I think the world that we surround ourselves in are sort of like rubs off on us a little bit. It can make us a little bit meaner and a little crueler and maybe a little more confused about what's right and wrong. And then yeah, it's like for like a kid that's already like kind of fucked up and a mom that has like a really hard job and has a really shitty relationship with her ex-husband and stuff. It's like, yeah, that's gonna like rub off on them in like a really scary way. I don't think the movie's trying to make the discussion of like, I don't think it's making the argument of like, oh man, like fucking like little girls and women, you know, like they can't handle things. No, I don't think so. It
doesn't feel like that.
No, I think it's because like the movie opens with like Gatto, who's also like clearly disturbed, and you see all these other people that are disturbed. I think it's a weirdly, I always bring it back to like Twin Peaks, but it's like it feels like Twin Peaks: The Return. It's this like, you know, Garmin Bozia and evil surround us all and are turning us into like dark, sad shells of ourselves, you know? And I feel like that's sort of like what the movie's weirdly trying to communicate.
Yeah, it's almost like a totem or something to just be like, here's the ability to let loose.
Yeah.
You got something to blame it on, which is, you know, also a little girl, right? It's like, you don't want to like fully believe that she's capable of killing people.
But,
you know,
I don't know.
Maybe she did.
Maybe she can. We don't know. The fact that we don't know.
Yeah, it's a really cool question. I was just kind of surprised. This movie's got like more to it than I legitimately thought. Like,
I thought this was going to be the stupidest fucking... I thought it was going to be Pinocchio running around with a knife killing people.
Yeah, but it's barely that.
No.
It's more a question of like, I don't know.
Morality.
Insanity and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. I was pleasantly surprised.
I enjoyed this.
Yeah, I did not think it was a great movie.
No. But it was pretty good. It
was pretty entertaining.
It was like, better than it had any right to be.
Yeah. Like I said, the acting was good. Yeah, solid. Yeah. Solid movie, which I did not expect from Pinocchio's Revenge.
Yeah.
What a nuts name.
Revenge, a wood best served cold.
Oh, beautiful.
Guys, have you ever been chased around by a wooden puppet? Can you email us at email at theotherhalfpodcast.com to let us know. We are Pinocchio aficionados. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram. We're on Threads, we're on Twitter, and we have a Discord. Check us out there. And if you want to listen to our previous episodes, you can find them on any podcatching app. We have a lot of episodes talking about Pinocchio. And while you're there, please leave a 5-star rating and review. We will read in the show no matter what it says, even if it allows us to question the fabric of our reality and morality in general.
Yeah. Well, with that, I'm going to play you out with a Britney Smith song.
Why?
Because she's in the movie.
Oh, she's a little girl?
She's a little girl. And now she's a singer. She released a bunch of tracks in 2024. I think I'm going to go with Karma's a Bitch. That's what we're going to play.
Yeah, that's right. Karma's my kink.
Don't mention someone better, probably.
Good night, everybody.
I was a bad girl. I did some bad things. I swear I did it all for fun and it meant nothing. It never happened. It was a secret. Like when a tree falls in the forest, no one hears it. Another late night, another crazy mood. And I didn't think twice what it would do to you. I was a wild child. You always knew.
I also just like felt bad for all the actors in the movie. Like, I know they're getting a payday, but it really did feel like every person in the movie is
like something about that like like it doesn't feel the same. It feels like Blumhouse is like, we're gonna have Avengers, but it's like bad Blumhouse, like worse than Blumhouse.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
it feels like in the same level as like Asylum. Like when the Asylum movies.
Yeah, that's a good point. I forgot about the Asylum stuff. Yes, it's very Asylum, where they're just like, yeah, we're just making movies based on like an idea, and we're not going to check anything else about them. They're going to have the lowest budgets in the world.
We're going to shoot them in a week. We're going to get whoever's in the area to be in these films, you know?
Like, the idea is just like, it's funny because
Pooh.
It's Pooh Bear, and he's like evil now, and I'm like,
Bambi? That's crazy, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of lame.
Like,
unless you got something interesting with it.
The Pooh movie was, I think, 10 minutes shorter, and it still felt longer than the Pinocchio movie.
Yeah. I totally can believe that.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask how that was, because you're just so like sad. You're just like, dude, I couldn't pay attention to it.
I was having a hard, like, I turned it on going like, why not? I'll watch 2 movies tonight. And like, yeah, I like turned it on for the first 10 minutes. Like, I can't pay it. I was like, I'm going to do the dishes. Like, I'm going to do any other thing. But
I'd rather do anything else than this.
Yeah, it was bad.
That is rough when a movie is like, a movie's good when you don't have to check your watch. You're like, oh shit. Fuck. Movie's bad when you're like,
I would do anything
else.
I'd
rather watch anything else.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I just also don't know if there'd be anything even interesting to talk about with a movie like that.
Not
like, it
really.
felt like sometimes when a movie, or especially a horror movie, is that bad, like I felt like what was that Leprechaun, the awful Leprechaun movie, the one with the wrestler?
Yeah,
like,
that one was fucking
when
awful.
we watched that, it's just like there's nothing interesting to talk about because it's just so bland and awful. Like,
yeah.
there's no
passion.
There's no passion. There's no caring. It's just like showing up and clocking in to film your shitty ass movie.
You're watching like retail work. You
yeah.
know? Yeah.
There's something about like that where I feel like, I don't know if it's just a modern-ish movie take, like more modern. Like I think since maybe 2005, when I feel like it's a lot cheaper to shoot film and stuff. You don't need a big budget to really make a movie anymore. And you just put that shit on digital. Like it's so much easier to produce a movie that like
it's all name now. Like recognizable.
Yeah, the quality bar can be so much lower because
Yeah.
you don't need any. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like it's cool to democratize this in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
But in other ways, it's like then you get more slop, and the slop is
Yeah.
so much worse on the bar. Like you can have bad movies that existed before, but it's like crazy people like Tommy Wiseau had to fund his movie,
Yeah.
or I mean, that's a bad example because that's at least an interesting movie.
But like the hate watching thing is now something I think people are going for. It's like can you even believe they made this movie about a killer Pooh Bear? And it's like
Sharknado.
we gotta watch that, you know?
Yeah, and it's like they made it, but it's also like not interesting at all.
Yeah, it's
they
like, I
didn't
don't
do
care.
anything fun with it. Like I was even thinking that, not to get too ahead, but like Pinocchio's Revenge, I'm like, I mean, they're really doing something here, you know?
Kind of, right?
They're kind of doing
Like
something.
more so than the fucking Pooh Bear
That's what I'm
movie.
thinking. Like like I was just thinking about like the worst horror movies. Like I was thinking Leprechaun movies. I didn't see the Pooh Bear one. I'm just
Yeah.
like, and the shitty Hellraiser one they used to keep the rights. And I'm just like, those movies are so big, like the biggest piles of dog shit ever. That like a movie that's like bad like this is like not even on the same
Not
level.
even there's some passion.
There's something interesting about it with characters that like clearly wrote for something. Anyway, we'll get into it.
We'll
But, like,
talk about it. But yeah, I agree with you. I completely agree. All right. You ready?
Yeah.
Wait, it's Pinocchio's Revenge.
Is it Pinocchio's Revenge or yeah, I think it is.
Let me just double check.
Hey guys, if you want to join some other like-minded fans of this podcast, you can check out our Discord, which can be linked in the latest podcast going forward, as well as theotherhalfpodcast.com.
If you wanted to discuss movies we've watched on the podcast, if you want to recommend movies for future episodes, or if you want to watch movies, we'll have movie nights on the Discord. You can pop in, watch the movies with us and other fans of the podcast.
There's also a section on the Discord where if you want to, you can learn more about my Twitch stream. But, you don't have to if you don't want to. It could be purely about the podcast.
But if you do want to, it's really great. And sometimes I'm on stream too, every other Thursday. Check it out. We play horror games specifically. You can get notified whenever a new podcast episode or whenever Ethan's live on Twitch, which is pretty often. You get to see our pretty faces, as well as other people that like the podcast and watch Ethan stream.
Yeah, so come join.
The Discord is your oyster, guys.
Do whatever you want with
The
it.
Discord is your oyster.